need to hide your heart when Dr. Eli shows up. Eli, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Terry.
Eli Karam, president of the Kentucky Society of Marriage and Family Therapists.
Close enough. KAMFT, Kentucky Association for Marriage and Family Therapy.
That's good. There's a lot of those people in this Commonwealth, aren't there?
All right, we got about 400.
Let's talk about a little family therapy right now. The mother of the alleged Boston bombers is all over the news. We can't seem to get away from her because she is in what many people refer to as denial.
Denial.
My boys did not do that. My boys could not do. My boys came to America. America took the whatever she's saying. Here it is.
What happened is a terrible thing, but I know that my kids have nothing to do with this.
Don't you go through this with certain parents in various sessions? I mean,
sure.
Therapists have to deal with this issue all the time, don't they?
They sure do. Marriage and family therapists, we think of you come to therapy because your child is out of control and you're having a problem with it. But sometimes you come for a referral from either the school or somewhere else has said, and we have a problem with your son or daughter. And the parent's like, what are you talking about? My son or daughter is a perfect angel. So we have a section of parents out there that, whether they're invested in being their child's friend or they have some flaw in their own ability to recognize what's going on, kind of enable their kids. And this is an extreme example, what happened with the bomber's mom. But what do we do with parents that don't see their own child's faults or want to view their child as perfect, even though we know they're not?
So first, back to that previous point, you can have a flaw that is like a shield,
sure,
a screen that keeps you from seeing your child in the proper context.
Sure. And why do parents do that? A, it's because they had the exact same flaw growing up. You know, if you were a bully, it's really hard to see how your kid could be a bully, number one, an example like that. Or you have something that represents guilt and shame in your past that you do not want your child to experience. So many parents, they were socially awkward, they were not popular, so they turn their eye or turn their head to anything that their child could do that would promote socialization. So they don't care if their child is potentially getting in risky situations as long as they're having an experience that they didn't have. And these are the parents that want to be the friend too much or trying to live through their child and having something they didn't have. So we got to work with parents a lot on that as far as to really recognize the difference between stroke and kick, I like to call it, Terry. And both parents, you need both. You have to provide structure for your kids, whether they be little kids, teens, emerging adults. You have to provide enough structure, but also enough support. So I'm not advocating for this military style of parenting where you just hammer out all kinds of discipline. You don't give really good justification. But the opposite, this permissive style, is not good either. So we're striking for the balance in between that gives support yet structure to your young man or daughter.
We're told over and over, all you do is tell your kid how great they are. Just tell them, just pump them up, just be positive, just tell them how wonderful they are. Our parents didn't do that for us, we tell ourselves. But look, we're going to do that for our kids, and it's going to just all come out roses and cotton candy.
My 4.5-year-old comes home from his little soccer meet, and he's got a medal. And I'm like, I told my wife, they must have won. He's like, no, they finished last. They said they all get medals. And it's this idea that we are, and in this culture, we don't let our children have kind of developmentally normal failures, meaning we need to know what it's like to kind of lose or to have a roadblock and then pick yourself up. So parents that are really invested in making sure their children are optimally supported, and they're doing it for a good reason, Terry. It's because they love their kids. They want their kids to have more than they had growing up, and that's a noble thing. I certainly want that for my kids.
You didn't even hear yourself say that. You said because they need to learn how to kind of lose. Kind of lose. You lost.
Right.
You lost the game.
And it's all right. But people that are afraid of, again, as I said, these developmentally appropriate failures, like their kid won't be resilient. But we can be. And in fact, the problem is when you get to emerging adulthood, you get into areas where you don't want to hit the roadblock the first time once you've left home. You want to hit the wall, if you will, so to speak, if you're a teenager, when you have the structure of your parents at home. You don't want the first time that to happen when you go away for school. All
right, more on unbundling from this problem when you are your child's friend, or you're too friendly with your child. Coming up here with Dr. Eli in a moment on 84 WHAM.
Sonia.
Dr. Eli Karam, marriage and family therapist, in the studio with me here. Sometimes we're around parents that we, others, judge and think, you know what, the mom or the dad, they act too cool. with their kid. It's like they think they're their peer and not their parent. But again, that's all subjective. Someone may look at me and think that way. I have stepchildren, too. I mean, my kids are in their 20s, right? A 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. But, I mean, that's a different role for me. Because they've got loving parents, the 8 and 10-year-old, I mean. And my kids are men now. So it's a different sort of a thing. It's funny. I had a nice conversation with my younger son a little while ago, and we do talk kind of like buddies now. But that's okay. He's 24.
He's an adult.
But how do you unbundle if you're a parent who's worried you might be a little too much of a friend to your child than a parent?
First, you got to ask yourself, why are you being that friend? Is it the sense that you are missing something, or you're going to your son or daughter for something that you should be getting from somebody else, i.e., your spouse, your significant other, or other friends? If you're getting all of your kind of social stimulation or living vicariously through your son or daughter, that's probably too much. So, that being said, no one's gonna. It's great to know your son or daughter's world. So if you know their friends, if you know where they're going, that's great. But there is a line between, again, if you feel like you don't have structure, especially if they're living in your home. It's one thing if they're 24. It's another thing if they're 17 or 18. So you got to be developmentally. You got to make that shift as a parent. And then the other thing, as we were talking about in the last segment, when you're defending your son or daughter, or you're doing something for them, ask yourself the question: even though I like doing this for them, and is this something they could be doing by themselves? I mean, hey, I loved it when my mom did my laundry, but it's 17 or 18, but I could do it myself. And actually, I needed to do it when I went away. So a lot of parents, they just like being hands-on. They have not nurtured their primary relationship enough, as we've talked about many times, and they're really invested in the parenting role. And sometimes they do things even when their child can do it themselves.
Well, sometimes it comes down to judgment call things, too. I remember when I was in high school, there were a few parents who were the cool people, the cool parents, who gave you a lot more latitude in their home than maybe you got in your own.
Right.
And again, that's all relative. It's all a matter of what they think is appropriate in their own home, and we can't, we can't create boundaries. But what about the issue of like the parent who says, well, why let them go buy beer somewhere else?
Let's do it in my house.
Let's just do it. They're safe. It's under control. Yes. Same thing with sexual issues, too. Right. I heard a mother say to me years ago, well, I'd rather them do that here in our house than just sneak away to be somewhere else. And I was like, well, she's 16.
Right. Certainly what that creates problems is when you're trying to parent your son or daughter a certain way, especially if you have a teen that is going out there and taking risk, and then you hear what your friend or their friend's parents are doing, and it puts you in a rough spot. And all you can do is be consistent as far as in your parenting. And when you start comparing yourself to the other cool parent or somebody down the street or your friend's friend, you kind of lose your effectiveness. So you need to be consistent and meet your child where they're at. The most important thing, if you're getting those little moments in, if they're telling you about their friends, if they're telling you about these kind of risk or informed decisions they're making, whether it be with sex or with alcohol or whatever in their routine, that's half the battle if they're talking to you. And you create the context where you have structure and rules, but you also want your child to come to you, because when they do hit the wall or when they do have something risky happen to them, you don't want to hear it from somebody else. You want to be able to come to you in time. And the more consistent you are in your structures and the rules, whether they get it, no teenager's grateful. They never say, oh, thank you for being such a strict, structured mom or dad. No one does that. But the payoff is when you have your 24-year-old son come to you down the road and talk to you about life and share what's going on. So you got to be consistent. You cannot fall for the pressure to be the cool mom or dad.
Tough deal. This morning, by the way, I was watching the news. I was watching Good Morning America this morning with the 8-year-old just sitting next to me. And the commercial comes on. I think it's for Huggies, and the woman is holding the little pregnancy stick. She said, I'm pregnant. And then she bangs on the window or whatever, and her husband comes in and, hey, we're having a baby. And he goes, there's a baby inside you, and da-da-da-da-da, and whatever, and the commercial ends. And my stepdaughter said, how did she know? And so I just said, I think she got a text from her doctor. And then she said, my 8-year-old stepdaughter said, no, she was looking at something in her hand, and I think it was a skinny phone. I didn't want to get into that. It's not my child.
Yeah.
She's got a mom and dad, and they're, I'm sure, communicating, but it's like, dude, not me.
Yeah, well, real quick, there's a couple things. First of all, it's like when you're a step-parent, even if you're a good step-parent like you are, how do you support your primary parent? And the idea is to be the the mentor, the fun person in front of the scenes, but real talks like that, you can be a part of it, but you want to have the primary parent, the biological parents, buy in before. So you created a nice little distraction with Gracie there.
That's all I could do.
Which was good, and you and Mary will follow up. You'll have the talk and then decide how Mary is the primary parent and you as the support, how you deal with it.
Exactly right. But at that moment, it was like, surprise!
But step-parent or not, hey, no parent wants to start talking about to their 8-year-old about all that stuff. You want to wait a couple more years.
A little girl, I'm like, yeah, not for me. I'm checking out of this conversation. It's chicken. I know it's chicken, but it's like, I don't think that's on my primary duty roster. That's a primary parent's role.
That's
You're absolutely right. Dr. Eli Karam, you can find him online, elikaram.com. Karam is spelled Karam. Good to see you again.
Have a great Derby week.
Back at you. All right, sports weather on the way here on 84.